Hey folks, how you doing out there? Welcome to another Drink and a Wink info review. Uh, if you were following recent posts, I had kind of been talking that I was going to maybe take a little time off. Then I kind of was looking, and tomorrow I have some visiting with parent duties tomorrow. That's not duties; it's not a job. It's fun. But I'll be out late tomorrow, and weekend's pretty busy with gigs and stuff. So I figured I'm going to do my second of what we're going to call Scorztember's blended Scotch-o-rama. I had started talking about blended Scotch a couple of months ago, and then kind of that fell off. We're talking about summer whiskeys and all that. And as I said in a couple of postings, right now I walk down the Scotch aisle, and single malt Scotch is getting very expensive. The number of factors. Some of them are, counter tariff threats, blah blah blah. Along with sometimes companies will manage that and keep the price reasonable. Other companies will jack the prices up. It all kind of depends on the parent company and the distillers and their size, and if they want to sell the product to us. Some bigger spirits companies and distributors will have enough resources to send over a bunch of stock to the appropriate places here in the States, retailers and third-party distillers. Before all that stuff happened, smaller companies sometimes can't do that, so they'll either eat it and just maybe jack up the price, maybe another 5% or maybe $5 to $10 here over the top. But all in all, I walked down a very long Scotch aisle today, and there wasn't too much there that hasn't seemed to be a little bit of a price rising. And also, as we get up into the higher age statements, like past 12, we're seeing that even more and more and more. Yeah, not great, but that's the way it is. We're also seeing a kind of downturn in just whiskey in general right now, sales and spirits in comparison to other things. What came first, the chicken and the egg? I don't know. But because of that, kind of figured that this, last September I did a bourbon thing. This September, which is my birthday month, September 28th, if anybody wants to know that. I'm going to talk about something that I like a whole lot, which is Scotch whiskey. I'm, of course, a single malt Scotch whiskey fan by trade. I don't know, by something. But I've always enjoyed good and sometimes bad blended Scotch, and here I'm going to tell you about it. Last September, with bourbons, I gave you some that are quite expensive and a little hard to find, and every time I did that, one of those, I try to kind of back up and find one that I find to be a good value, good flavor for the money, and you're going to find. So I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit on these blended Scotch things. Keep in mind, again, I'm not going to break it up into too many categories, but know that I'm going to be jumping back and forth between two, let's maybe call subcategories. When we talk about blended Scotch, okay, just so you know what we're talking about, I've said this many times, but most of those videos were deleted by Facebook. So when you talk about blended Scotch, we are talking about a product that can be a combination of single malt Scotches along with grain whiskey. Okay, the levels can be all different of different sorts. Usually, the cheaper the product, or the lower in the range of products, the more grain we're getting. And then as the prices maybe go up, the age statements go up, they might then they go with more of the single malt Scotch whiskey. So let's say I wanted to make a blended Scotch right now. I could do it, not legally, but I could do it physically by taking some grain whiskey, like some corn whiskey that I have over here, mellow corn by the Heaven Hill Distillery, and I could combine that with any three. Well, they're down here, but the single malt Scotches. I could just do it with one if I wanted to. 2, 3, blend it together. We get a blended Scotch. Okay, the second subcategory in blended Scotch whiskey is what we call a malt blend, or a blended malt, or in the old days, vatted. Okay, And again, what that means is we just take 3 single malt scotches and we blend them together and we age them, and that's great. So if I wanted to make a vatted blend, I could take Lagavulin 16 and Ardbeg 10, sample it, pour it together, and now I have a malt blend, blended malt, or vatted malt. Okay. Sometimes I used to just focus on let's call malt blends versus just regular blended Scotch, but today this time around, I'm just going to be jumping around. Let's talk about this one today. I've brought this one to you, but again, those videos are gone, and this one is really a really funny story. I've told this before, but feel like telling it again here. I've told you a little bit about my journey in terms of Scotch and or just whiskeys in general. You know, about 20 years ago. No, I got interested in whiskey in college when I was upper years, and I was playing with a band, and there was a great teacher there that told me about wild turkey, and that's where I started drinking some whiskey off and on. Went for a little while and really wasn't drinking anything out of that because I was a young and hustling musician, and I didn't drink a whole lot other maybe than a beer or something like that. Always like good tasting beer, but then the next time that it kind of popped up was when I was on a trip and I bought some Woodford Reserve, okay, and that got me interested in whiskey to a degree. So I always had some whiskey Woodford Reserve around, blah blah blah. I won't do the whole thing. Sometimes some people gave me an Irish whiskey, and then again, some years ago, I got introduced to single malt Scotch whiskey, and I haven't stopped. Okay, but what's fascinating is the first time I ever drank anything called whiskey, and specifically blended Scotch whiskey, was when I was a teenager. Yes, I drank before the age of 21. Not much though. Actually, it was pretty good until I got to college. But when I had braces, can you imagine this with this wonderful visage with a mullet, glasses bigger than this, and braces? All right, back then I was in better shape back then, but I'm still kind of I was a big pants kid. I had braces, and the doctor or the orthodontist recommended that occasionally, if I was getting some pain here, that I could brush a little whiskey with a Q-tip on my braces. What was the only whiskey that was in my parents' cabinet at the time? Cutty Sark, regular, plain old green and yellow label. It looks exactly the same as it did in 1987 or whenever that was, 86, I think, actually. So I did that for a while, and I was like, this tastes interesting, and I don't tell my parents, but yeah, I had a little. I drank a little bit more, probably all of maybe, all told maybe the amount of 1 dram glass over some different periods, but that was funny. Since then, I tried that again for nostalgic purposes. The old green and yellow standard Cutty Sark. Not a fan. Okay, that is a really high grain content to single malt ratio. Not my favorite, but every whiskey serves a purpose. I don't know what that is. It might be getting drunk fast. It might be, I don't know, cleaning out cannons. I don't know what it is, but it's not my favorite. But then about 3 or 4 years ago, I started hearing about this, their kind of the next stage in their line, which is the Prohibition. I don't think it always said overproof, but Cutty Sark's Prohibition Overproof, non-chill filtered, okay, which is nice. So they might have added some color, but non-chill filtered and bottled at 100 proof, okay, that's 50% ABV. Started getting some notice, and a lot of my favorite reviewers talking about it, like this is an excellent value whiskey. It took a lot for me to buy it. I think this might be our 3rd bottle. But I tried it, and it turned out, yeah, it's easy to drink. Tasty. Would make a good, because it's a bottle of 50%, make a great, I should say, blend mixer, because it's not overpowering any one area. Okay, Dewar's 12 or Dewar's 12 price wise is kind of similar to this, and I love that. But that has pretty strong bourbon, ex-bourbon cask notes. Okay, it's one of my favorite blended Scotch whiskeys, but that's an overpowering one. I like to drink that when neat. Not overpowering. Let me say it this way: there's first fill ex-bourbon sherry notes in there. Give you a lot of oak flavors and a lot of nutty. It's wonderful. Okay, it's one of my favorite blended scotches. I visited with the Dean of Allocations today. It's one of his favorites, and it's a great value as well. But using that in a drink might not be, as a mixer, might not be your best choice, because it does have that kind of overpowering nutty flavor. So if you're making like a Rob Roy or something else with Scotch, maybe that would be one to stay away with. The same thing is something that has big sherry notes might not be your best choice. You know, if you want to ruin a Rob Roy, which is just a Manhattan with Scotch, essentially, is you're using sweet vermouth. So if you're going to use a Scotch whiskey that has a lot of sherry notes, okay, already has that, and you're putting that in with sweet vermouth, such if you're using a real tangy one, that can be a lot of fruit. So there you go. That's the story on this. I'll do tasting notes in a little bit, but what is this whole Prohibition thing? Well, this is a kind of a salute to Captain McCoy, who was this captain. I'm not going to read all this stuff. You could read it on their website, who essentially brought the stuff over to the United States during Prohibition. Okay? Oh, yeah, he smuggled it, all right? It's great, in the 1920s. This is supposed to be kind of a small batch idea, and I'll tell you it's not always on the shelf, okay? It was on the shelf recently, and I buy it on sale. Here's the great part about this, other along that. Standard price is about $27, okay? And for that amount of money, or if you get it on sale, and it's on sale a lot, you're getting a 50% ABV, pretty nice, decent blended Scotch, okay? Couple things to note. This used to be Cutty Sark was owned by. This is one other thing about fascinating blended scotches. There are some, especially small companies, that will tell you right down to the different grams what is in that bottle. Okay, this usually happens more with companies that do vatted or malt blends, like Compass House or Monkey Shoulder. Isn't quite so, and I'm going to do that soon. Isn't quite so evident about it, but like Monkey Shoulder has been known to have Balvenie and Kninvi, and I forget the other one. Aberfeld? No, not Aberfeldy. I can't remember the other one, but 3 big single malt scotches in there. They aren't so. They don't produce so much evidence here with this company, but we can kind of trace and kind of guess and then taste. So trace, guess, and taste based on who owns them. So they were owned by Inverhouse for a while. That is a wide range of, Belmenic, and I'm kind of losing some of the different names, but they have about 5 or 6 different single malt scotches in the portfolio. Some of that could be in here. There was rumors that when this was owned by Inverhouse, some Balvenie was going in there. Or I'm sorry, Bunnahabhain, which is one of my favorites of all time, was in there. Recently, this was acquired by La Martiniquais Bardenet. Or Bardenet. I'm not quite sure on that one. Okay, my French, it's been a long time. So La Martiniquais Bardenet in November of 2018. Okay, Edrington, who then owned Cutty Sark, sold it there. So Cutty Sark has moved around quite a bit. Okay, and did I say Inverhouse? I might have meant to say Edrington. I got my gut. Anyway, this is moved around by the parent company, but we can look at the parent companies and see what are the single malt scotches in that portfolio, and maybe that's what ending up in here. I'm finally going to taste this stuff. All right. Here you go. If you want to see a Cutty Sark Rob Roy, they're recommending. I know you can't probably see this, but 5 centiliters of Cutty Sark Prohibition, 2 centiliters sweet vermouth, and a dash of orange bitters. That's the way I do it. The only thing difference is what I do is I use a dash of orange bitters and add a dash of plain Angostura bitters. All right, finally, let's talk about this. On the nose. The nose is passive. Not as much oak in there. Let me get a big snootful. Lemony. A little bit of nuttiness. Just a hint, slight hint of any kind of peatiness or smoke. It's not the best nose I've ever had. A little bit of sunflower seed. And a little bit of oakiness. On the taste. This is where it really crushes. Vanillas and a little sweeter notes turn more to darker notes, darker fruit. There's a little bit of chocolate in there. It's just a really interesting blended Scotch. It has more complexity than you would imagine, and boy, it just really, it has a little bit of this crispness, this little wafer note. There's a little bit of pepper in there that you can definitely get. All the ideas that you would expect, okay? But I get another company that Edrington owned. I don't know if they're still using that in this blend now that it's the parent company has changed, but Old Pulteney is another one that they owned, and I can definitely find some Old Pulteney notes in here. I can find some Bunnahabhain notes in there, that little sizzly, almost sugary flavor there. They say on the page here is ripe citrus fruits. I get that, not as much as maybe they're saying, but it's really flavorful. I don't know, we have no idea how old this is, but something is smoothing out the graininess. There is a ex-bourbon cask vibe here that doesn't overpower. As I drink it a little quicker shifts, if you will. That finish, really, the ex-bourbon notes start to pop. A little bit of nuttiness, a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of caramel, but not a lot. So here's what I like about this. First of all, there's more complexity of flavor than you would guess for this price tag from this company. I also know that many other of my Ralphie at Ralphie's on his page, Ralphie.com YouTube channel, he's done thousands of reviews, mostly of Scotch whiskey, but that he enjoys this. This was in Whiskey Advocate's Top 20 a couple of years ago. It was introduced in 2013. Roy Duff from Aquavit has mentioned this. The Dramface webpage, which if you're into Scotch whiskey, check out Dramface if you don't already know about it. It's a website. Roy is involved in that, but it's a nice kind of almost like blog style online magazine for whiskey. Love that. They like this a whole lot, and Whiskey Base like this a whole lot. Is it the best Scotch whiskey, blended Scotch whiskey I drank? No, because I drank Dewar's 21 a couple of days ago. Is it going to compete with the closest price tag, which is Dewar's 12-year-old? Dewar's 12-year-old. No, I'm not going to take a drink of this, but I am going to nose it, and I'm going to confirm what I was saying. If you are looking for a blended Scotch sipper, you've got to go with this, okay? If you want to spend 25 to 30, this is going to be as good a choice as any, okay? But like I said, if you're making a drink, this is a very heavy bourbon note on this nose. Uh, there's more ripe fruit and more chocolate on this. Okay, like I said, one of my favorites. This is passive, not in terms of flavor, just that it doesn't punch out as much. Imagine the difference between vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice cream. Okay, or it might even be better to say vanilla ice cream and then vanilla ice cream with chocolate chips, okay, or like chocolate nougat in there. That's what this kind of thing is, because it's not full chocolate. I mean, it's not. It's still just ex-bourbon. This is more vanilla, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean it, and it's a really nice sipping whiskey. You can sip this. The other thing that's really interesting is I don't know how old it is, but at 50, I have drank other 50% Scotch whiskeys, single malt and blended, that give you the head shakes a little bit. Okay, so this can hold up to a little drink of water, a little drop of water can hold up to an ice cube. But just neat, like I'm drinking it right now. This has the flavor punch of 50% ABV whiskey, but it doesn't give me that. Okay, that's pretty wild. So I'm going to say blown away by this. And then there's the value. You're talking about unchill filtered, 50% whiskey from a company that you know, okay, or you at least heard of, and it's changed my mind on them. I don't know if I'm ever going to check out something higher up. I think the yellow is now sporting the green bottle, yellow label is sporting an age statement. I'm still going to stay away from that because it just had this note of sardine oil that I didn't really need. This is just a wonderful, refreshing blended Scotch. I can't say enough about it, only because you will never pay more than $28 for it. Okay, and you should find it on sale, and they're going to be good. Check it out. I know it's on sale right now if you're in the Chicagoland area, or if the Illinois area that you can find at Binny's. I know currently it is on sale for $25, I think. Okay, I really suggest checking it out. It's really nice. Other thing is, this would be the perfect highball mixer. Okay, so tonic, this, maybe a little bitters, maybe adding a sliced or orange peel to it, be really good. Check that out. So for Scorztember's blended Scotch-o-rama number 2, we're going to say Cutty Sark Prohibition Overproof. I'm gonna. It's very rare that I give something that's just kind of under 30 an over 8, but I'm going to give this an 8.1 right now, which is pretty staggering. I might take that back at some point, but I'm combining the flavors, the high ABV, the fact that I just want to keep drinking this. Okay, I'm going to stop. I got to work tomorrow. But and then the value for the price, really amazing. I don't know. I might just look around and kind of decide what I'm going to do next. But hey, you know what? Since it's sitting right here, maybe my next one will just be this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call that. I'm going to do this because remember the last time that we talked about this was when they raised it from double-aged in first-filled bourbon cask. Again, this used to be refill cask, and then Stephanie McLeod raised this up to just using double-aged in first-filled bourbon casks, meaning bourbon has been stored, then it's shipped over, and they use it right away. Maybe I'll use, I don't. That's what I'll lean towards too. We'll talk about some of my favorite blendeds, like we'll talk about Chivas Regal 13, the Lancaster or something United, Manchester United edition, which you can't really find anymore. We'll talk about some more of the Dewar's products. Maybe I'll grab a small bottle of Johnny Walker Black just to talk about it. Although every time I get it, it's less satisfying. The first one I ever had was also from my parents' pantry. Was when I still was owned by Seagram's, and I rather enjoyed that one. That was around for a long time, but now that one is gone, and I've gotten a second bottle of new, not great. And the last time I bought a half bottle, still not really digging it. But we'll talk about it. We'll talk about sheep dip. Maybe we'll talk about Copper Dog. I don't know if I have any of that left. And then we'll talk about some of my favorite vatted ones, like Orchard House again and McNair's Lumreek. We're going to get into it, all right? By the end of September, who knows? Maybe I'll have a couple other ones that I want to check out as well. Either that I'll buy for myself because I'm a special guy and I have a birthday, or that come my way. But anyway, that's it for tonight. Cutty Sark. Don't call it Cutty Shark. Really cool. All right. So we can thank Captain McCoy for bringing us over. I don't know if that's related to the McCoy's rum, although actually I think it might be. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Anyway, but this is the real McCoy. Grab yourself a bottle. You won't be disappointed. And even if you're just pouring it in to make Rob Roy's or something like that, or a highball, this will be perfect. All right. We'll see you. Cutty Sark. Boy, I'm glad the memory of drinking it still sticks with me, along with some of the scars on the inside of my lip from those damn braces. Horrible. You people don't know what it is. Invisalign, you have no idea. If you're younger, even if you're like 40, it was horrible.